Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah,
We're prepping for 2024,
absolutely.
and we're looking at an episode of Politics now that's got some fascinating insights.
Really interesting.
You guys are going to want to hear this, so let's just dive right in.
Yeah,
So right off the bat,
yeah.
this episode we're looking at kind of sets the stage with these two potential frontrunners, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Hey.
To see how those early narratives are already developing.
And they're so different.
Totally different.
I mean, talk about a contrast.
Absolutely. You've got Trump essentially promising a sequel,
Right.
a return to Make America Great Again, right?
Okay.
Familiar notes, right? Boosting the economy, tightening border security,
Yep.
putting America first on the global stage.
Which is what he ran on before.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
a familiar message for a lot of voters.
Yeah, and then you have Kamala Harris.
Right.
And it's interesting because if she gets the nomination, she's kind of in this position of building on what Biden has done.
Right. It's about building on that foundation that's been laid by the administration.
So it's like progressive policies, a focus on equity and inclusion,
Absolutely.
climate action,
Yeah. Big push for climate action.
big one.
Yeah. A lot of these issues were really central to the Biden campaign as well.
Yeah, and I think what's so interesting about this stage in the game
Yeah.
is that it is so much about the narrative.
It is.
It's not about the nitty-gritty details.
Exactly. It's less about detailed policy plans at this point
Right.
and more about those big picture narratives
Yeah.
that really connect with voters on a gut level.
What makes them so powerful, these narratives at this stage?
Well, I think they tap into something fundamental.
Okay.
Emotions.
Right.
Voters often connect with candidates who reflect their values, their
Yeah.
hopes,
Yeah.
their anxieties even.
For sure.
And these narratives provide a framework,
Okay.
a way to kind of make sense of complex issues and see where a candidate stands.
It's like the story before the story.
Exactly.
Like setting the stage
Yeah.
before the policy battles even really begin.
Absolutely. And speaking of setting the stage,
Okay. Yeah.
the episode of Politics Now that we're really diving into today
Yeah.
really emphasize these latest polls.
And, I think
Just-
it's easy to get caught up in those polls.
Right, and it's
Yeah.
really important to remember that those polls are a snapshot,
Yes.
not a forecast.
Right. A snapshot in time.
Exactly.
So much can change
Absolutely.
between now and, November 2025.
Exactly. So much can happen.
Don't panic if your candidate isn't, at the top of the polls just yet.
Exactly.
But I'm curious. Let's dive into those polls.
Okay.
Just to give us a sense of where things stand right now.
Well, according to the latest polls, Trump is holding on to a lead amongst Republican voters.
Okay.
And what's really striking is that even with these ongoing legal battles,
Right.
his base remains fiercely loyal. He's even ahead of Ron DeSantis at this point.
Interesting.
So those legal challenges,
Yeah.
while significant, haven't really diminished his support amongst his base.
It seems like it's almost emboldened them in a way.
Exactly. And I think that speaks volumes about the hold he has on a segment of the electorate.
Yeah.
His supporters see him as a fighter,
Right.
someone who takes on the establishment.
Yeah. And how does that impact the GOP race? I mean, could this unwavering support be enough
That's a good question.
to carry him to the nomination again?
It's certainly a strong starting point.
Right.
But the big question is, can he broaden his appeal
Right.
beyond his base in the general election?
That's always the challenge, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, well, let's talk about Kamala Harris for a second.
Sure.
She's facing an incumbent in Biden,
She is.
which is never easy.
Precisely. And while there's been a lot of speculation about Biden's age and potential challengers within the Democratic Party,
Yeah.
we can't underestimate the power of incumbency.
It's comfortable.
It is.
People like comfortable sometimes.
It brings with it a sense of stability
Yes.
and familiarity that resonates with a lot of voters.
Right. It's that whole better the devil, kind of thing.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
Voters are often hesitant to switch horses midstream, so to speak,
Right.
even if they have some reservations.
Right. So where does that leave Harris in terms of securing the nomination?
Well, she has her work cut out for her.
Right.
She needs to energize the Democratic base,
Right.
particularly those who are looking for a more progressive agenda.
Sure.
But at the same time, she needs to appeal to moderate voters
Right.
who might be hesitant about a significant shift to the left.
So walk that tightrope.
Exactly. It's a very delicate balancing act.
Right. Inspire the base.
Right.
But don't scare away the moderates.
Exactly. And of course, let's not forget the historic nature of her potential candidacy.
Oh, absolutely.
If she secures the nomination, she would be the first female president of the United States.
Now that it's huge.
That would be huge. It would be a political earthquake.
I mean, talk about a shift.
It would be.
But even before we get to that,
Right.
there's that whole general election to think about.
Absolutely.
And that's where those polls come back into play.
They do?
And it's interesting, we've got some polls with Trump ahead, some polls showing a much tighter race.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mixed bag, isn't it?
It is. It's the interesting thing about this stage of the race.
Right.
It's still early.
Yeah.
And voter sentiment can be volatile. It can shift so quickly this early in the game.
Exactly. So how much should we read into these head-to-head polls?
Right.
I mean, are they even worth paying attention to this far out?
I think they're definitely worth watching,
Okay.
but you have to view them with a critical eye.
Okay.
Think of them more like a barometer than a crystal ball.
Okay.
They give us a reading of the current political climate,
Okay.
the issues that are resonating with voters,
Yeah.
and some of the potential challenges that each candidate might face.
Okay, so let's talk about those challenges for a second.
Sure.
We've got those legal battles swirling around Trump,
Right.
which you mentioned earlier. How big of a factor could those become?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It feels like a big one.
It is because, his base seems unfazed.
Right.
But to win the presidency again, he needs to convince those moderate voters,
Right.
the ones who might be willing to overlook the brash style,
Right.
but are less forgiving when it comes to, potential legal issues.
Yeah, it's like they can tolerate the showmanship,
Exactly.
but draw the line at actual legal jeopardy.
Exactly. And that's where those swing states become absolutely crucial.
Right, because a small dip in support among moderate voters
Right.
in a state like Pennsylvania, Michigan,
Yep.
could be the difference between winning and losing.
Absolutely, it could.
It's crazy how a handful of states can have such a huge impact.
It's true. And the Electoral College system
Yep.
gives them this outsized influence, which is why we see campaigns pouring so much time and money
Oh, yeah.
into those specific areas.
Strategic.
Absolutely. It's all about strategy.
Right.
Knowing where to focus your resources for maximum impact.
Okay, so speaking of strategy,
Yes.
let's talk about Kamala Harris.
Okay.
Assuming she does secure that Democratic nomination,
Right.
what are some of the hurdles that she'll need to overcome?
Well, we talked about incumbency advantage.
Yeah.
Are there any other historical parallels that we can look to?
Right. Have there been any successful challenges against incumbent presidents?
It's definitely an uphill battle.
I bet.
One recent example that comes to mind is Bill Clinton's victory over George H.W. Bush in 1992.
Oh, yeah. It's the economy stupid campaign.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Clinton effectively tapped into voter dissatisfaction with the economy,
Right.
which ultimately overshadowed Bush's foreign policy successes.
Wow.
And I think it highlights the importance of connecting with voters
Yeah.
on those issues that directly impact their lives.
Okay, so for Harris, it's about identifying those key issues where she can differentiate herself from Biden
All right.
and make that compelling case for change.
Exactly. She needs to articulate a clear vision for the future.
Right.
One that resonates with both that progressive base
Right.
and those moderate voters who are looking for stability and competence.
Don't alienate anybody.
It's a tough line to walk.
Right. Offer a compelling alternative.
Yes.
But don't scare away huge chunks of the electorate.
Exactly. And of course, let's not forget the historic nature of her potential candidacy.
Right.
If she's successful,
Yeah.
she would be breaking a massive barrier,
It's true.
which could energize voters who are
sorry.
looking for representation and change.
So we've got polls,
Mhm.
we've got historical parallels,
Yes.
we've got strategic maneuvering,
Mm-hmm.
but it always feels like there's this other layer to elections.
Right. There's this element of surprise.
Yes, those unpredictable events.
Exactly.
Nobody sees coming.
Really.
They can totally upend the entire race.
Yeah.
Like an October surprise.
Exactly like an October surprise.
Those last minute bombshells, right?
Right.
It's a reminder that in politics, as in life, things can change in an instant.
Yeah, you just never know what's going to happen.
You really don't.
It's what makes it so exciting to follow.
Absolutely keeps you on the edge of your seat.
It really does every week. It's like a new headline,
I know it.
a new twist in the story.
A new poll.
I know it's going to be a wild ride to November 2025.
It is. And that unpredictable nature
Yeah.
is what keeps us glued to our seats.
Totally.
But even with those October surprises,
Right?
there are some key things we can watch for in the coming months.
Like what?
Well, as the campaigns ramp up,
Yeah.
keep an eye on how their messages evolve.
Okay.
Right now, it's broad strokes, right?
Great. Big picture.
Exactly. But we'll start to see more detailed policy proposals.
Okay.
And those can reveal a lot about their priorities and
Oh.
how they plan to govern.
It's like we're getting the trailer now.
Exactly. But eventually we get the whole movie with all the nuances and the plot twists.
Right. And speaking of plot twists, the debates are always must-watch events.
No, the debates are going to be good.
They give us a chance to see how the candidates handle pressure,
Right.
how they think on their feet,
Yeah.
how they respond to criticism.
A good zinger can really shift momentum.
A good zinger can make a huge difference.
Right.
And on the flip side, a major gaffe can be really hard to recover from.
Oh yeah, those gaps can haunt you.
They can.
So much rides on those debates.
It's true.
It's like political theater,
It really is.
but with real-world consequences.
High stakes.
High stakes indeed.
Optics.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
Yes.
I feel like we've covered so much ground,
we have.
from those early narratives
Yeah.
to the power of incumbency,
Mm-hmm.
the importance of those swing states,
Absolutely.
and we're not even done yet.
We've only just scratched the surface.
I know it's going to be fascinating to see how this next year unfolds. It really is.
And I can't wait to do more of these deep dives with you
Me neither.
as we get closer to the election. But
Yeah.
before we let our listeners go,
Yes.
I want to leave them with something to ponder.
Okay. I like it.
So, given everything that we've just discussed,
Yeah.
all the potential for change,
Mm-hmm.
all those unpredictable factors that are at play,
Right.
what do you think, dear listener?
What do you think?
What event or factor could shake up this race in the most dramatic way? Something that nobody's even considering right now.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know.
That's a really good one.
Could it be a wild card candidate entering the race?
Oh, maybe.
A major international event?
Possibly.
A sudden economic shift?
It could be anything.
The possibilities are truly endless.
They are. That's the beauty of it all.
I know.
As much as we analyze,
Right.
as much as we try to predict the future,
Yep.
there's always that element of surprise.
Always little mystery.
Always.
Well, on that note,
Yes.
stay tuned.
Stay engaged. Keep asking those questions.
Keep thinking critically.
Because this race
It's far from over.
is far from over.
It's just beginning.
We'll see you next time.
See you later. A lot of twists and turns still to come.
It's going to be a wild ride to November 2025.
It really is. But,
Yeah.
even with all those surprises,
Right.
there's some things we can watch for.
Okay. Like, what should we be paying attention to in these coming months?
Well, keep an eye on how those campaign messages change
Okay.
as we go forward. Because right now,
Okay.
it's pretty broad strokes, right?
Big picture stuff.
Big picture, but you're going to start to see more detailed policy proposals coming out.
Okay.
And, those can reveal a lot about their priorities.
Sure.
And how they actually plan to govern.
It's like we were saying, like the trailer.
Exactly.
And now we're going to start getting into the actual movie.
You'll see all those details,
Yeah.
all the nuances.
Yeah.
And speaking of, those key moments,
Yeah.
the debates are going to be huge.
Oh, the debates are going to be must-watch TV.
Oh, absolutely. Gotta watch those.
Yeah.
Because they give us a chance to see how these candidates handle the pressure,
For sure.
how they think on their feet,
Yeah.
how they respond to criticism.
And a good zinger can really shift the momentum.
Oh, a good zinger can make a world of difference.
Right.
But on the flip side, a major gaffe
Uh-oh.
can be really hard to recover from.
Yeah, those gaffes can really come back to haunt you.
They can linger.
So much riding on those debates.
It's true.
It's like political theater,
It is.
but with real-world consequences.
High stakes.
High stakes.
Very high stakes.
Well, this has been incredible.
It has.
I feel like we have covered so much ground.
we've covered a lot.
From those early narratives to, the power of incumbency,
Mm-hmm.
those swing states.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting election season.
It really is.
It's going to be fascinating to watch it all unfold.
And we are just getting started.
We're just getting started.
So much more to come.
Ah.
But for now, we're going to leave it there. So for joining us for another deep dive.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.